Hi everybody, today's topic is dividing to get a decimal. As a reminder, you do not need to write down everything we cover in this video, but be sure to jot down important information and at least one example of each type of problem that we cover. Also remember that you can pause the video to jot down important notes, rewind to view information again, and fast forward if you think you got it. Just be careful and make sure you don't miss out on anything important. So let's begin. As a review, the dividend is the first number, or the whole, and that goes inside of your division problem. The divisor is the second number, and it's the amount of parts that you're dividing your whole into, so that goes on the outside. Remember our pro tip that you can always create a quick key of easy products so that you can easily look up products. Easy products are multiples of 2 and multiples of 5. And today we are going to be working with quotients that don't have remainders. So eventually we're going to run out of digits. Instead of finding a remainder, we're just going to add a decimal point to the end of the dividend and the quotient. And then we're going to add zeros and keep dividing until we can't divide any longer. So make sure that you pause the video and write down those two steps. They're very important. All right, and we're going to go over what we mean by adding a decimal point and adding those zeros in a bit. We also have to make sure that our divisor, that's the number on the outside, is a whole number. It's going to make our multiplying so much easier. So in order to do that, we have to move the decimal point to the right until it becomes a whole number. But then we have to balance it out. If we move it over 2 spots, we have to do the same thing for the dividend, the number on the inside. So we're going to move the same amount of place values for the dividend as well. So make sure that you have these steps written down in your notebook before moving on. All right, so let's go on to some examples. So we're actually going to use these steps. Here's the first example. We have 2 whole numbers being divided, and we want the answer in decimal form. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can try it on your own first. Okay, in this problem, they have 35 divided by 10. 35, the dividend goes inside. 10, the divisor goes on the outside. I'm double checking and making sure my divisor, the number on the outside, is a whole number. It is a whole number. It's 10. It doesn't have any decimal points in there. So I can begin. The divisor is 10, so I really don't need to make a key because it's just multiples of 10. So I can just go on already. 10 doesn't go into 3. It's too small. So I'm going to put 0 there as a placeholder. 10 can go into 35. It can go into 35 3 times because 10 times 3 is 30. Subtract that. 35 minus 30 is 5. Normally I would say this answer is remainder 5, but they want us to have the answer in decimal form, so I can't do that. I need to keep dividing. But remember, in order to do that, I need to add decimal points after my dividend and my quotient. This decimal point has always been there because 35 is the same as 35.0. We just don't write that normally because it's extra. So right now we need it in order to keep going. So we're going to add it back in. But it's always been there, okay? And then we want to make sure we line up the decimal point above. Because right now we're going into the tenths and the hundredths. So these are like dividing the remainder of your fraction, right? Because decimals and fractions are the same. We're dividing our remaining fraction into a smaller piece, so it's going to be a decimal part. So I'm going to move this 0 down, and then I'm going to continue dividing. Now 10 goes into 50 5 times. 50 minus 50 is 0. So we know right here that we are done. I can't divide anymore. So this is the end. This is my answer, 3.5, or 3 5/10. The shortcut way of saying it is 3.5, but we're supposed to say it 3 5/10. because that's the leftover part that we try to divide again amongst 10 people. So now they get a fractional part of it, or decimal part. So I'm going to type in my answer, 3.5, and there we go. Go ahead and try the next one on your own. 8 divided by 20. All right, for this problem, I am writing down my dividend, the first number, on the inside, and the divisor, 20, on the outside. You're probably thinking to yourself, that looks weird, right? But this problem doesn't say 20 divided by 8. It's 8 divided by 20. Remember, the first number is not always the biggest number. It is the whole that we're dividing. This would be like if we had 8 apples and we're dividing it amongst 20 people. Not everybody's going to get a whole apple because there's less apples compared to people. And that's okay. It'll look weird to you, but that's the problem. Okay? This is 20 as our divisor. Let me go ahead and make a key. 20 times 2 is 40. 20 times 4 is double that, so 80. And 20 times 8 is double that, so that's 160. This is my little key down here. Then I can begin. And I went ahead and made that key because it is a whole number, so I didn't need to move anything. So I'm good there. So let's get started. 20 doesn't go into 8, so that's a 0. Right? We talked about how 20 people dividing up 8 apples, no one's going to get a whole apple. There's too few apples. So now we're out of numbers. So we're going to add the decimal point to the dividend and the quotient, and we're going to add zeros. These zeros, again, have always existed. 8 is the same as 8.0, but now we need them, so we want them to appear now. 20 goes into 80 4 times, because 4 times 20 is 80. So I'm going to put 4 there. When I subtract it, there's 0 as the remainder, so we know we're done. So the answer is 0.4. If 8 people were sharing 20 apples, each person would get 4/10 of 1 apple, because there's not enough apples. So our answer is 0.4. Okay, so that's dividing to get a decimal when you have 2 whole numbers. Now remember, you could have a problem where the divisor is not a whole number. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, in this problem we have the dividend 29.88. That goes on the inside. And we have the divisor 0.36, or 36 hundredths. I notice, first of all, that my divisor is not a whole number. I need to make it into a whole number. So I'm going to move it over, looks like 2 spots, to make it into 36 as a whole number on the outside. Now, if I move it over 2 spots, I need to balance it out. So my dividend also needs to be moved 2 spots. So this becomes 2,988. Okay, so however many spots I move on the divisor to make it a whole number, I'm going to move that for my dividend as well. So I have a new problem now. Okay, it's kind of like making equivalent ratios. If I'm going to multiply the numerator by 100, I need to multiply the denominator by 100 as well, so that it is equivalent. Okay. Now I'm going to make my key on the bottom. So I have 36 times 2, so that is going to be 72. Now 36 times 4 is going to be double that, 72 plus 72. So that is going to be, and I'm going to just multiply it, 144. And 36 times 8 will be double that, so it will be 288. That was easy. 1 plus 1 is 2, 4 plus 4 is 8 for both of them. So I got myself a little bit of a key over here. All right, 36 doesn't go into 2, 0. 36 doesn't go into 29 either. It's too small. We got to find a number that's 36 or bigger. So now we have 298. 298, well, looks like 8 works. Good thing we did that. It's good to have a key. So 36 times 8 is 288. That was so easy to get to. All right, 8 minus 8 is 0. 9 minus 8 is 1, and this is 2 minus 2, so it's nothing. Move this 8 down. Now we have 108. Okay, I know it's going to be somewhere between 72 and 144. It looks like 72 might be good because, let's see, you know what? I'm not sure, so let me try 3. 6 times 3 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Oh, look at that. Good thing I tried it. So it is 3 exactly. Minus 108. So we're done. Okay, if we weren't done, we would just add a decimal point and then 0 at the end and then move that down. But we didn't have to because we were just done at the end. So our answer right here is 83. Okay, so that's all we mean by moving the decimal places over for your divisor and your dividend. Okay, here is one last one before we end for today. Go ahead and try it on your own first, and then we'll do it together. All right, so for this problem, our dividend is going to go on the inside. That's always the first number. 10.5 is being divided by 2.1. That goes on the outside. It is not a whole number for your divisor, so we're going to move it over one spot on the outside, and I got to match it on the inside as well. So now this problem is new. It becomes 21 on the outside and 105 on the inside. And then we begin with our key, okay? So let's make our key. 21 times 2, that's 42. Double that, so that's 4. And so we get 84, and then we're going to double that to 8. And we will get 8 times 2 is 16, 168. So now I have a good key to follow. 21 does not go into 1, that's too small. 21 doesn't go into 10, that's too small still. 21 can go into 105. Let's see. 84 is close to it. Let's try 21 times 5. That might be better. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Perfect. So that's 5. And we're going to subtract that and get nothing for our remainder. So that means that we're done. So our answer here is 5. Perfect. Okay? So go ahead and try those problems at home on your own. Let me know if you have any questions, and if not, I'll be seeing you in class.